Hey everyone, have you always thought networking is about nepotism and favoritism? Well, join me in this video as I dispel some of these myths and run through the hidden secrets of powerful networking. We'll run through 3 key ways to build meaningful and genuine relationships which will help accelerate your career trajectory. So let's get into it. So point number 1 is that networking is about building genuine relationships. It's not just about exchanging business cards. So Reid Hoffman talks about this in his book, and he talks about how you should have a very close-knit relationship group and a fringe group. And the close-knit relationship group is a group you should have high trust in, and these are people that you might even be friends with, and they serve the purpose of just being your kind of core network. So for me, it would be my grad intake, which was the group of friends I made when I started at my current role. And then you should have this fringe network, which will help generate the ideas and kind of plant you in the rest of the market. Obviously, he's the founder of LinkedIn, so he recommends that you should use social media platforms to build that network as big as possible, because the bigger your network, the more likely it is that you'll have some interesting opportunities thrown your way. So another interesting point I took from his book was that you should always just be keeping that networking relationship alive. So you should always be kind of tending to the network, reaching out, touching base, even if you don't want anything at that particular point, because it helps keep everything alive. The second point I wanted to talk about is the principle of reciprocity. So that's the principle of you need to give in order to get. It's important that in your relationships you ignite that kind of principle. Adam Grant talks about this really well in his book, Give and Take. So he divides the world into givers, takers, and matchers, and he notes that givers tend to be either at the top of organizations or at the bottom, and that's because either at the top they've harnessed the principle of reciprocity, or at the bottom they've become burnt out by just giving too much. So some of the advice he gives to givers is to look out for takers who might be just exploiting them over time. Another thing I took from the book is a large group of people will put themselves in the matchers category, where they kind of try and do a calc in their head where they're like, I just want to kind of equally balance this out. But one of the problems with that is we often kind of overestimate our side or what we're giving to a typical transaction because of our recency bias, i.e. we're more just familiar with everything that's gone into it versus what the other side of the table is doing. So I think matching is really difficult, and given we tend to overestimate our contribution, I think it's really important that we focus more on the giving side to kind of counterbalance that. The third point I wanted to talk about was not being afraid to ask for or receive help when it's offered. So the Go Giver book talks about this really well, I think, where you have to be willing to accept to be able to give, because you want to benefit as much as possible from that principle of reciprocity, where the more you give is the more you get. So you have to be willing to receive in order to give. And this is an area where I've really not done well in, because I just tend to not want to ask for help. I don't want to be a bother to people. This is quite common for people pleasy or nice people, is they don't want to bother other people when they're asked like with their wants or needs. But what I've learned from doing all this research is that actually that's really important to kind of kickstart the reciprocity kind of flywheel, let's say. So that's definitely something I'm going to take away. I also think that in this world, quite often, well, for men at least, there's this kind of image that's idealized of like the lone individual, so the self-made man, so John Wayne, James Bond, these people who are like lone wolves and don't need anything from anyone. And I think that's dangerous, because in the real world, because we all know that people throughout our career have helped us along. So I think that's quite a dangerous image to kind of attach yourself to. So moral of the story is just accept help where it's offered to you. So there we have it. I hope you've enjoyed that video. I've run through 3 techniques to improve your networking and relationship building. I think we've dispelled the rumors that it's about nepotism and favoritism, and it's actually about just providing great value to another person and finding mutual win-wins in your professional network. One of the other things that stood out to me when I was doing my research for this was in Ferazzi's book. He talks about how in a study it was found that 56% of people got their jobs through their personal network, and only 10% got them through like applying to the job posting on the website of the company. So that's just something that shows you how the world really works in this sense, and how important professional networks can be. I really found that stat shocking, and I definitely haven't been playing this game correctly, it turns out, because I always thought that getting jobs through your personal network was, almost cheating in some way, which obviously is ridiculous. And that was a real limiting belief I had. So yeah, I'm definitely going to take away it's important to build that professional network, and it's not frowned upon at all to be, cultivating new job opportunities through that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to hear more from me, don't forget to check out this one here, and I'll see you soon.